Hello, everybody. So, I'm hopping on for a bit tonight to talk about group programs or memberships, or you might even think about it as like a live course, because I know that everyone thinks about what a group program is in different ways. I know that oftentimes people will run a course live and actually film the content live before they make it into a digital product. So, when we're talking about creating group programs here, you might think about it as a live course. You might think about it as starting a membership community, or you might think about it as taking a one to one service that you've offered as a coach, as a healer, and turning it into the one to many model. So definitely ask your questions if there's specific things that you're considering, or there's questions that you have, or challenges that you've been running into. I definitely want this to be interactive and Q&A, but in the meantime, I'm just going to talk to you about some things that I think that you'll find helpful. I've been specializing in running groups since 2019. I've primarily done group coaching both for myself, and then I've also freelanced as a group coach in other larger coaching programs. And that's a really fun thing to do as well. But I have learned a lot along the way in terms of how to set up the offer in the right way, and how to set up the focus of the group in the right way, that it's actually easier to market, that it's easier to get people into the group program when you launch it, as well as how it goes more smoothly when you actually have the group together. So I definitely want to talk about that. I'd also like to talk a little bit about the right time frame that I see group programs and memberships actually going the best for business owners, because I do feel like there's certain times where people will launch a group program or a membership and it comes more from the place of lack or scarcity. It comes from the assumption that if I offer something that's at a lower price, that more people are going to sign up for it. But if you're having trouble filling your one-to-one spots, I wouldn't recommend going to like a low price group program and thinking that that's going to be the solution, because it's always easier, of course, to sell more, or sorry, fewer coaching spots or fewer one-to-one service spots at a higher price point. So there's definitely a time where I feel like it both most benefits a business owner to have a membership, to have a group program, for a few reasons, in terms of the business model, the scalability, and also in terms of it has to be a must for you. It has to be There has to be a compelling enough reason for you to do it, because there are some things with groups that I feel as though we'll call them kind of like mental hurdles in terms of how you make money. There's a lot of mental hurdles that I'll usually work with clients in terms of like their ability to see that the group oftentimes can actually have more value for their clients, that it actually could be more beneficial and give the clients actually more than a one-to-one offer. But there are some things that you have to move past in order to actually do it. And so there has to be a must behind it for you. So I want to talk a little bit about those things, just some of the tips and tricks. And then I also thought we could talk a little bit about some different formats and some different places that you might want to host, or ways that you can host group programs or memberships, because I get a lot of questions about that, like about different sites. I've used Kajabi. I use Kajabi currently. I've used Mighty Networks at one point. I've used Podia as well. And I tend to, I mean, I guess it's a good thing that I'm able to at least speak to a lot of them. But I've really made my way around the different platforms. Not to say that those are all of them, but I think that it's at least a little bit of a good sampling, so that if you're considering some of those, that if you have questions about like the pros or cons, or what you actually need to get started, or the simplest way to get started in group programs, since you don't necessarily need a platform at all, you could just have a Zoom account if you'd like, then we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, because I definitely didn't have all the bells and whistles when I first did my first group in 2019. So ask your questions. when I go live on Tuesdays at 7 Pacific, I call it spiritual business breakthroughs. So it's a place to show up. I'll usually have like some sort of topic so people can decide if it's relevant to them or not. And sometimes I'll do some live coaching and I'll bring somebody in. But tonight it's all about creating your first group program or membership, or you might think about it as a course that you deliver live. So let's talk about first off the right time that I feel like it most benefits a business owner, and where I feel like there's a few scenarios, but I think the most motivation that makes it a must for people to actually show up and make it happen. Um, so Shelly was asking, is the Zoom platform expensive with the group? I haven't checked it out. So there's two different types of Zoom accounts you could have for the paid ones. It's either like, I want to say it's like the $14.99 for the regular membership, or there might be a price break if you do annual. Or if you're wanting to do the webinar, which would be if you have, I want to say maybe more than 100 people. And if you'd like it to be more in the webinar format where it's less interactive, where everyone can see and talk to each other, that would be a different kind of account. I've always used the regular like $14.99 paid Zoom account, but all of the groups that I specialize in teaching about and working with my clients are all virtual. So I feel like Zoom or maybe a platform like that is a must these days. And it tends to be the thing that people are most used to working with. So I do think it's a really good investment for anyone that's going to have a virtual program. And for people that just want to start like a group program on a most, I'd say kind of like bare bones kind of essentials, I would say just getting yourself a Zoom and then using something like a free like a Google Drive to basically kind of host some files and some things like that. Okay, so in terms of the right time frame that I feel like it really benefits the entrepreneur, the business owner in having a group program would be at a time where, like, if you have a one-to-one service and you fully booked out your one-to-one spots, or you don't have any additional time that you want to spend working with clients one-on-one, then that's a really good time to start looking at a membership or a group program. Because at some point, whether you're almost there or whether you're there already, you'll really hit that ceiling with one to one. And I feel like I see a lot of coaches and healers reach that point of burnout if they don't do it soon enough. So I feel like, with coaches, with any kind of healer, any kind of reader, it takes a lot of our energy, right? To show up and to make sure that we're a clear enough vessel to be able to show up and work with another person. But if we're pouring all of our time sitting in a chair and just being on Zoom all day working with clients, then it comes to the point where you can't really give your best and feel your best. And I know that that might be I guess I'm really not talking to the newbies for the most part, because I will say that at one point, as a new coach, whenever I would visualize or manifest, I would always just want to see, like, I would see like my Google Calendar, like just like packed with like coaching sessions. And like in my mind, that was what I was associating with, okay, like I've like reached my goal. I've reached the milestone that I want to reach when I see those things. And I think that initially it's really good, but over time you'll start to feel burnt out if you're just on Zoom and jumping from call to call. And you'll also feel like once you get to the point of like I remember when I was needing to like refer one-on-one clients out and pass them on to other coaches, which is great. It's a really great thing to be able to do. At some point you feel like you need something else so that you can continue to grow and scale your business. And so that's a really, really good time for people that have a one-to-one service to look at a group program or a membership, or to start looking at digital courses, because you want to have a game plan so that you continue to grow your business and offer different things that aren't just exchanging your time for money. And if you feel like you can maybe see that spot coming in your calendar, for instance, where you feel like, okay, I feel like I don't really want to work more. I feel like my calendar is really full, or maybe I would want to do some one-on-ones, but I'd prefer to do less and just maximize my time or have it put into other things. Then that's going to be really good. Let's see. People are asking me questions, readings kinds of questions. I'm not doing readings tonight, everybody. I'm doing business coaching stuff. I have TikTok going on over here as well. We're talking about group programs and memberships. So if you're a business owner and service provider, stick around, but we're not doing does Mario want someone else right now. um So I will say the other time that I think it's really good to look at a group program or a membership is like, let's say you have a full-time job and you're wanting to get a business started, but you haven't been able to, you don't like have a ton of time, but you're trying to build your business still. I think that that's another point where I guess it could be the newer business owner, but that's when you're going to have enough of like a push or a must for you to look at doing a group program or a membership, because you'd be able to serve multiple people in the time that you do have. So I think it's a really big plus for that as well. Shelly's asking a question, which ones do you like out of the ones you've tried? So are you looking at, are you talking platforms? Shelly, hello, Terry. I will definitely get into platforms and different ones that I've tried and sampled. If anyone also has worked with some things, different platforms that I haven't used, definitely would love to hear your opinion as well, because I feel like there's so many options out there. So if you feel like you have limited time and you are a coach or you are a healer, you do readings for people, there's a lot of possibilities of how you can take a one-to-one service and turn it into working with people in groups. I feel like we see it much more often in the coaching community. I feel like it is completely possible for people that are healers or readers or other kinds of like holistic spiritual practitioners, but it does take some creativity. If you don't see other people in your industry doing it, it doesn't mean that there's not a way to do it. It just means that you need to look at it more creatively and to be in that problem solving mode of saying, how is this possible? And I love helping people to take a look at what they do and to find a way to offer it to many people at once in a group setting. I am, by the way, hosting a workshop tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific, where we are actually helping, I'm working with people directly and helping them come up with their group program or their membership. And we're going to build your offer. I'll be able to chat with you on Zoom and answer your questions. I include my Canva template for offers as well. We'll talk about how to price it and really together like create your plan of your program, as well as making sure that you have it niche down and set to a specific outcome to make it easier for you to market. So that tomorrow is either 99 if you do it a la carte, or it's included in the business universe, which is 99 or 79 a month. Just no commitment on a month-to-month basis. It includes the weekly calls, and that workshop is included in that. And so you would basically get the whole rest of the month and the rest of the calls. So it's kind of a no-brainer to just go that path. I will say, okay, so we talked a little bit about the right time for you to start a group program or to start a membership, when it's going to be like most beneficial to you, when you're going to have the most motivation to follow through and do it. But another big thing that I see with people is making it too broad. And I will say that I also made this mistake in the initial groups that I was launching of making it far too broad, to where if you have too many people going in too many different directions and wanting too many different things in a group, it's really hard to market it. And it's also really hard to have like a cohesive conversation with the group, and it doesn't benefit everybody as much. So if anybody, let's see if there's any questions. So Group coaching, maybe more deets for format. Yeah. Well, I feel like Shelly, for format, well, I'll talk a little bit about some tips and tricks, but for some of it, I might need to know specifics about what someone would be offering because I do feel like the format is really inspired by what you're wanting to create in the group program. But just looking about things being outcome based, my Package Your Magic course really goes into that. But a lot of times, coaches and healers have a lot of resistance to promising any kind of specific outcome with the work that they're doing. But the thing is that people pay for outcomes. If we just talk about transformation and alignment and purpose, and those are the things that I feel like kind of like the fluffy terms, right? Which I get it, those are fucking important. I get it. But for most people, right, like that are living a day-to-day life, they're going to be making decisions based on their 3D life because they're paying with their 3D money. And so there's a 3D outcome, right, that we need to talk about. And so even if you're somebody that does spiritual work, that does transformation work, we want to make sure that everyone is moving in the same direction. So when you're bringing people in for your course or your membership or your group program, that it's people that are on the same journey, because group programs can actually be more beneficial for people than working with them one-on-one because of the community, because they're actually getting to take a look at people that are on the same journey with them and to feel like people see them, that they relate to them, that the questions that someone else has or breakthroughs that somebody else has are going to actually end up helping the other people in the program. And so I definitely see this all the time. Like in my membership, the Business Universe, everyone is a healer, a spiritual coach, a Starseed business owner. So there's similar journeys, right? And when people are showing up on the calls and being really fucking vulnerable and talking about the challenges that they're having, it's powerful for other people to sit there and be like, whoa, it's not just me that's going through that. And I really can, I feel like it really gets people out of like that self-judgment. People are better able to show up for themselves, to really stay inspired when they see someone on the same journey as them having a win. So group programs, if you do it in the right way of actually having a shared journey, a similar journey and experience for people, it can be more beneficial and more valuable for your clients than just working with them one-on-one. Someone's asking, what are we talking about on TikTok? We are talking about group programs and memberships. If you're new to me, I'm Ashley Bradley. I am a Starseed business coach. I do readings on Thursdays, specifically business, career, purpose, and money. But all the things that I do are around really helping the healers, the Starseed business owners, people that are the holistic practitioners to go out there and to create with their magic, to lead with their magic, to really bring tools that are practical and also like magical and energy based and divination based to the healers and the healing community. And there's also some channeling and some readings and some things like that that I do, working a lot with content creation, with group creation. So that's what we're talking about today for the question that we had on TikTok. And just opening it up to be a Q&A session, so that if there's people that have a question, if you've been thinking about starting a membership or you've been thinking about taking your one-to-one service and offering it to a group, that this would be a really good place to ask questions. Okay, so I know that Shelly on Facebook was asking about some different platforms. I'll tell you a few that I know of, and if anybody happens to be watching and they have a different platform that they've used that they want to tell people about, by all means, talk about it. Again, for your first group program or for your live course, you don't necessarily have to have all the bells and whistles. You can just start off with Zoom, and then you could have, for my first group program, I would always want to get people like to think about certain topics before we would come, and we would like deepen them and have conversations on Zoom. And it was just a super, super simple format like that initially. And so I would always just use Google Drive, and I would send out like a little assignment or kind of like a short reflection or reading for people before they came to the group program. I will say that with groups in general, I think this is a good tip, Shelly, in terms of like facilitation. Um, I really love facilitating groups, and I do feel like it is a different skill set than working with somebody one on one, but because there is like a group energy. But I will say that for some reason, it always seems that it just works out to where people tend to be on the same page. Maybe it's the same kind of collective energy that's rolling through the group. But you do have to remain somewhat flexible, right? Because if you had something you thought that you were going to talk about with your one-to-one client, and then they were like, well, actually there's this totally different topic that's important to me that I want to talk about instead, you would say, okay, great, let's talk about that, wherever the client wanted to go. Well, with groups, naturally there tends to be more planning, or more topics that you would have set ahead of time to take the group on for that specific session. But don't be surprised if you show up and you notice that there's a completely different theme that's emerged with the group, and that there's just something, you maybe were going to talk to them about, I'm like, group programs, right? But then you feel like everyone's like, kind of, I always like for people to check in. I think that that's a really good thing. If you have a group that's a decent enough size. If you have a larger group, then you can even have people check in through the comment section, but something that allows you to tune in and to see where people are at, right? Because I do feel like even though you are going to be being of service to a group and not to one client, I feel like it's our job as the one that's the facilitator, coach, leader of that group to still be tuned in and to care about what's actually going on with the people on the other side, because that's the different thing, right? Because if you get a course or something like that where there's no interaction or there's no live person, you would expect that it's just going to be business as usual and it's going to go through the modules. But again, if there's a certain theme that's popping up, or there's something else that just seems to be um, like really showing up instead with the group, then I feel like it's a willingness to, I always call it like holding your topic or the intention that you had for the group lightly, and always being willing to go somewhere else and to show up and to meet the group wherever they're at. I'll say that I know that it takes practice, just like with if you do one-on-one client work, that it takes practice when it comes to showing up and feeling confident in leading a group. But it's, I think, just always do your best and trust that more often than not, like, your skill sets transfer over more than you think from one to one to working with a group. And so talking about different platforms, other than, if you feel like you have digital content, or you're needing like a community element or something like that, Podia tends to be the least expensive in terms of the platforms that I've used. I want to say that one starts at $39 a month. That one's really good for hosting courses and freebies for digital products. You can host group workshops and like live Zoom calls and things like that on there, but I want to say you have to jump up to their $79 a month plan. What I like about Podia is that it's really easy to use. I like that they have a $39 a month plan. And so I feel like it's really reasonable for people that are just stepping into the space of digital products and courses. I do not like their I don't like their community kind of format, at least when I was using it in the past. It just wasn't accessible on mobile. So it wasn't as good for people that are wanting like a Facebook like kind of like membership community. But it is pretty easy to use. It doesn't have as many bells and whistles in terms of like customization and things like that, but there's a lot of workarounds. And there's some people that I know within our community that even Amber Christine, for example, I know creates templates for people to basically spice up their podia, and she does really awesome work with that. So I can always connect you with somebody if you end up going in that direction. The next one that I've used before is called Mighty Networks. Mighty Networks is cool because it does have an app kind of based format. A lot of people are starting to use Mighty Networks. And so I feel like the bonus of that is that if it's an app or something that people are already using, I just think it's a plus, it's a benefit. They have a really great format in terms of courses. So you could sell courses on there. Really, really good in terms of community. Um, there's a lot of options. Sometimes the settings can get a little bit confusing, but for the most part, I felt like the customization tools and the things that you can do on Mighty Networks was really cool. I want to say I'm kind of going off of memory here, but I want to say it's maybe 99 a month for one of the plans. The thing with I would have still actually probably been working with Mighty Networks, but they only use Stripe for their payment processor. And I had a weird situation with Stripe where they said that because I was a fortune telling service, that went against their like terms and conditions, and so they wouldn't let me have an account with them anymore. And so I needed to process PayPal with everything, and there was no way to have automation with payment through PayPal once that happened with Stripe. So that was a really weird situation, although I feel like it was probably the universe just kind of pushing me in a new direction. And then that's how I ended up with Kajabi, which it's a pain. I don't like, I've moved my stuff, like my courses and things, more times than I would prefer to say. Thank you to Solange, my VA, for helping me migrate all of my things 3 different times. But I will say that Kajabi, it is the most expensive. Their entry level, like I guess, package is 199 a month. The thing that I think that that's one of the cons for them is that it's it's high priced, like that they don't have like a lower package, and that they only let you have like 15 products or offers at the same time before jumping up to a different price tier. So 15 offers or products could be like courses or memberships or freebies. And so it's definitely a bit on the pricier side. Um, it's really good in terms of it can do a lot of things. It can host your podcast, it hosts your email list, you can segment your email list, you can have all of your sales pages, your courses, your community, um, everything, right? I saw as well that they just acquired a company called Vibely, which I don't really know what that is, but it sounds like they're going to be doing like even more in terms of communities, and like hosting live events and things like that. So I do think that Kajabi does have so many things that it can do, but at the same time, it can be a little overwhelming. I tend to be pretty tech savvy, but I feel like sometimes there's so much customization that it's just like, whoa, where do I even go for this? So, um, yeah, I mean, of course, there's always the option of hiring someone to set it up, but that's my experience just with like 3 common platforms and maybe some things to think about before you were to choose one. I will say, um, for format, yeah. So I feel like the format of your group program or your membership really gets to be as unique as you are. I would say that most common what we see with memberships is that there's like a content component, or that maybe like mine, for example, like all of my digital products and all of my courses are included in the membership. And then there's a live call component and a community component. Um, I feel like there's even more creative things. Like I have a client, for instance, that is a reader, and she includes recorded readings, like, maybe think like in the 5 to 10 minute range at different points for the members of her group, so that they get like a short reading when they come in, and like a recording of it. And then I think it's like at the 30 and 60 and 90 day mark. And so there's a lot of things like that's one of the reasons that I like helping people ideate, and to basically take a look at what they're doing, and to find basically a format for it that will work, because there's different ways that you can deliver things. I know that her program, for instance, also has like remote healing as a part of it, daily practices that people are encouraged to do. But it really just depends on what you do, what service you provide, and then also what the group is for, because you always want the format of the group or membership to be inspired by that. And I really encourage people to get really creative with it as well. So Shelly's saying, one of my groups went to Discord and it's a shit show, cannot figure it out. And bots and subsections, and it's annoying to me. Haven't been active and I really miss that group. Yeah. Yeah, I do know that like some people for paid programs I've seen use things like Facebook even for their community format. The only thing that I'd say is that um, I did try that in the beginning for my paid programs, but it tends to be challenging because not everyone sees it. So if you're posting recordings or you're posting Zoom links, I feel like it's a little bit harder to control. And so for paid programs, that would just be my word of caution. Um, I will say as well that I found that if you do have a different platform that people aren't used to, that having an onboarding process that can help them, having screen share videos, that's something that I did for Mighty Networks, where basically there's a screen share where it can show people where to find things. I think that that process of onboarding for members like a little bit really goes a long way with just like, a 10-minute screen share video. So I feel like we've covered I think unless there's any other questions, I feel like I covered all the things that I wanted to cover. Definitely hop in to the workshop tomorrow if you feel like you are ready to start your membership or your group program and you want my help with creating the offer, making sure that it's fine tuned enough in terms of your niche, making sure that if there's any hurdles or things that you're trying to get through in terms of like, how do I price this? Or how do I really want to offer something like this, but what format or delivery method do I do it in? Then tomorrow's workshop would be really good for you. The cheapest price to get it at is to just join the Business Universe for a month. Business Universe is $79 a month. There's no commitment. It's just all month to month. For TikTok, there's a link in bio. It currently says 333 deal because there was a 333 annual plan that I have, but that's what it would say in the link. And then I'll drop it as well here. I want to say if you're watching it well, I guess I'll have to go back in the comments and I'll add it in. I'll add in the link. But yeah, so Business Universe 79 is the cheapest price. It's 99 if you were to do it a la carte. But the Business Universe is basically like my everything pass there. So it includes all of my courses and my tools. We have weekly calls. This week it happens to be a workshop. There's usually some kind of a business divination call where we're either, I want to say on that link as well, it'll talk to you about what the calls are for November. So I want to say there's a readings exchange, like psychic development circle that we have for one of the calls. I know that there's another workshop coming up at the end of the month that's more about reconnecting to like purpose and like reigniting that spark, because I feel like that's really important for us as entrepreneurs, is like really making sure we stay connected to that joy. And then I have a coaching call that's scheduled for this month as well. It's about clearing counter intentions. And I'm going to take everyone through the deepest fear inventory process, which is a Carolyn Elliott process for making sure that your subconscious mind feels safe enough to do what you want to do in business. Because oftentimes, if we're holding any kind of a counter intention, and there's some part of us, right? Because there's many different parts of us. If there's any part of us that doesn't feel safe or doesn't actually want the thing that we're saying that we want, then we tend to have resistance, self sabotaging things. We keep talking about something, but just not doing it. So, that is the lineup for the business universe. But tomorrow it's going to be 2 hours. It starts at 5 Pacific, and it's interactive, meaning that I'm going to help you and we're actually going to work through your group program together. And we'll make sure that by the end of it, you at least have your rough draft of the offer. You know what you're doing in your program, you know who it's for, you know and understand the right angles to be able to sell it and who to market it to. So that is what we're doing. Let me know if you have any questions about that. I will be live. My next scheduled live, sometimes I will just pop in. My next scheduled live is Thursday at 3 Pacific, and that's going to be reading. So I'm planning to do some business readings that day. So thanks for hopping in, and I'll see you soon. Good night, everybody.